So let's talk about, now that we love succession planning and we're ready to actually get into our actual succession plan, let's talk about the data. What's available to you? So I want you to use some data from your own firm. And we'll talk about exact data that I want you to look at. But the first one is turnover rates. If you're a sole practitioner and you don't have staff, this may be a non-starter in terms of your actual succession plan. But for those of you that do have staff, look at your turnover rates. Look at how often you're hiring people and how quickly they're leaving your firm. Look at your exit interview, and hopefully you're doing exit interviews, but look at those results and see if you can correlate a trend. Right? Is there something that is going on in your organization that is resulting in exits? And if not, maybe there's nothing going on there, but maybe there is. Look at your realization compared to other industry averages. Okay, you can get that information. The AICPA has it. I think Robert Half produces some realization reports. But you can look at, for firm size in your area, what's the average realization rate on tax services? What's the average realization rate on consulting? What's the average realization on audit? And where do you fall in that? And then this is a really interesting one, but if you're capable of capturing it, the productivity of your firm versus the time in the seat. So some firms are tracking when people are in the office, the amount of numbers, as opposed to working remotely or working from a client, and comparing that to their level of realization and productivity. So if you're gathering that data and that's something that you have available for you, it's going to be really important to your succession planning. And then some other questions to ask yourself is, what does your team want? Do you ever do just like every 6 months like a survey monkey that says, what are you interested in? What are we doing great? What can we do better? Some of these organizational things, right, can play a big role in your ability to get your succession planning done. And then the last thing that you really want to focus on from a data standpoint is, does your team know your mission, vision, and purpose? So if I came out to meet with you in your firm, and let's say you have 10 employees, and I sat down with each one of those employees and said, what's the mission of this organization? What's your purpose? Would every single person give me a consistent answer? If the answer to that is no, then your succession planning is probably going to be a challenge, right? Because you need buy-in before you can have a plan for how to get out. So those are important. In terms of an industry response, this is a slide from the AICPA, and it's related to their MAP survey. You guys have probably been involved in responding to that. This is what the firms say the reason for turnover is. So you'll see, it tells you the size of firm, and it says, they left the profession, they had family obligations, they changed firms, they transitioned to business and industry. And so you can see based on firm size what the most response was for that. So then let me tell you what the survey that they sent out to the staff, what happened. So the AICPA did a career perceptions research, and they sent it to anyone who was a non-equity partner. And they asked them to tell them what the reason was for leaving. Factors of leaving, not reason, factors. So let's say it that way. 89% of the respondents said compensation was a factor. 85% of respondents said that management pressured them to perform. 84% because they didn't have flex time. 84% because they felt like they didn't have support for their professional development. 78% said that they didn't have any opportunities for career growth. And 70% of them said that there was no mentoring program to become partner. There was no path to success. Okay, so some of the other ones are not surprising. Compensation is usually a big driver of changing organizations, and so that's nothing surprising. But I think the 70% that said there was no mentoring program to become a partner, that's a big percentage. So if you don't have a succession plan and it's not something that's globally known inside your organization, you're going to have people leaving. And then that in turn affects your succession plan because your top performers aren't there anymore. So we're going to go through these next slides pretty quickly because this is really just more informational for you to know. But what are we talking about when we say why people change jobs? And you'll see over here on the right-hand side of the slide, Gallup says that 75% of respondents said that they left a job because of their boss. Okay, so they left because of people. So as organizations, when we're dealing with our succession plan, this is important to consider because we have people that are leaving firms because they don't like the person that they work for. And how much does that play a role? Are we looking at the symptoms? Are we looking at the causes? Those are things that we need to be asking ourselves. And when people leave, if you're not doing exit interviews, you definitely should be. So these are things to consider before you start diving into your succession plan, because when people are leaving, you have no one to succeed you. So culture plays a big role as well. Being able to keep people in your firm so that you can transfer your firm to the next generation is the only way to have an internal succession plan, right? It's to avoid that M&A rush that's going to happen in the next 5 years with 40% of the sole practitioners, right? So this is from the Firm in Motion Toolkit. It's available to anybody who's a PCPS member. If you're not a PCPS member, you'll see my email at the end of the slide deck. You can email me and I can send you, some of these are in Excel. I can send you some of these pieces. But basically this idea of having a culture of transparency at your firm, being able to have this information available for your team and being part of your succession planning process is really important, right? So if everybody on your team understands what the expectation is for how to move into partner or how to move into an equity role or how to move out of an equity role, right? If those things are clearly delivered and available to your team, your succession planning almost plans itself. Right? If those are your strategies, you almost have a succession plan in place already, because the people that want to stay and buy in and are going to be your top performers, they know exactly where they're going. And they know exactly how to get there, and they know exactly what you expect. That's a huge recipe for success. So let's talk about defining your culture. Do you actually leverage your culture in hiring and retention efforts? So let's say your purpose, your culture is all about loyalty. You are all about loyalty to your clients. You're all about loyalty internally as a firm. That is the number one value that matters to you. Is that how you communicate with your staff? Is that how you communicate with your clients? When you hire someone on, do you tell them that loyalty is the top trait that matters to you? When you are retaining people, do you make sure that that's part of the conversation? And if it is, then your succession plan is built around this idea of legacy and loyalty. So succession planning guide and tools, I'm just going to bring all these up together so that you can see them all. This is from the AICPA's PCPS Strategy Planning Center. You can get access to this if you aren't a PCPS member. Again, email me and I'll get you connected to this. But these are all the checklists that you guys love, right? All the paper documents that you need to be successful accountants. So there's elements to a partnership agreement, there's merger and acquisition checklists and guidance, there's communication for your clients regarding the sales, departing partners, mergers, there's evaluating your own firm. I strongly suggest starting here. It's a great way to start your succession planning journey, is to just see where you're starting from. And then a big one that I really love is also developing your new firm leaders. So if you're going to invest in an internal succession planning strategy, then this is a great place to start, and how to make sure that the people that you're bringing in or that you're planning to transition to have the skill sets that you identified as being important. And then there's also a due diligence checklist, a shareholder and training checklist. There's a sample practice continuation agreement out there. So just all kinds of things that are available to you to get started. So I know it seems like a ton of information that we just went over in the course of, I think 55 minutes here that we covered. So hopefully as we get to the end here, you feel comfortable with the results of the surveys, recognizing that, you align with some of those results in terms of your firm size and your organization, what you do. You're feeling like there's at least a starting point for why it's so hard to do your succession planning, and what information is available to you to get that started, right? So being able to use your own data on personnel, on culture, being able to recognize internally why it's such a challenge for you and overcoming that. And I think all those things will play a role into your ability to move forward with your succession planning. So beyond that, I think we mentioned earlier when I was speaking to Jeff, here's my email address. Please, please, please feel free to reach out to me and ask any questions that you have from today's session. Please connect with each other and start talking about what you want to do from a succession planning standpoint, and I'll be happy to help in any way that I can. I appreciate all of your time. I know you're busy people, so thank you so much for joining today.
Perfect. Thank you so much. We hope to see you on a future webinar, and watch for some other material, as this is obviously a topic that we're going to continue addressing, and want to thank Lindsay, and we will see you on a future webinar, and appreciate you being on today.